Forward the GOP White Brigade. That's what he called the piece. Then he said, half a league, half a league, half a league onward. All in the valley of death rode the 10,000 forward of White Brigade. Apologies to Alfred Lord Tennyson, but a certain full of self Republican in Texas has made the appropriation too easy. Last week, the Washington Post shared a video, and I'll show you the video afterwards, of an unidentified GOP official calling for 10,000 volunteers to brave the darker reaches of urban Houston to find and fight voter fraud. Sounding like a Trumpian brigadier, Eric, he exhorts the troops, saying that to brave a harrowing urban center frequented by a varied people of color call for confidence and courage. You see, he says, this is where the fraud is occurring. Courage, courage. Might this also be where the voter intimidation will be once the GOP army besets heavily minority precincts? You see, Texas and all these places are passing laws that allow the private citizenry to run into these precincts with cameras and challenge every vote. They want to make voting a fighting hell because they want to come into those people's neighborhoods and see, can you really vote? It would be, I tell you what, and if you want to see a piece of the video.
If our attorney general, who has the power to prosecute election integrity cases, does not prosecute those that are violating election code, will continue to break it. And Alan Vera, through a lot of the judges and poll workers from November, have identified at least, I think, 15 cases of fraud and have reported many cases. We've got witness affidavits. We're going to recruit and train and assign a very large, when I say large, it's 10,000. We're trying to build an army here of 10,000 people in Harris County that are motivated and highly competent folks to serve as election workers and poll watchers. It's basically safeguard, our voting rights and our voting obligations. So I'm trying to get, encourage and recruit as a precinct chair about 30 people in my precinct that will have the confidence and courage to come down in here in these areas where we really need poll workers, because this is where the fraud is occurring. All right. So me finding poll watchers out here is not, it helps, yeah, but it's a pretty safe precinct. We've got to get folks in these suburbs out here that have, a lot of Republican folks that got to have the courage. If we don't do that, this fraud down in here is really going to continue. Judges that, hey, Bill, I'm willing to do my precinct or the precincts around me, but I'm really not going to go down to Wheeler Baptist Church to be a judge. So this contingency really gives us a little bit more freedom and flexibility in scheduling.
Let me explain what you just heard there, folks. If you notice, he mentioned Wheeler Baptist Church. That is one of the biggest Black Baptist churches in Harris County in Houston. And what they want to do is, Houston is the largest county in the state of Texas. It is a bellwether county because it sort of reflects the entire United States. And it trended blue and turned completely blue over the last two elections. Lina Hidalgo is now the most powerful woman, a 29-year-old, most powerful woman in Harris County, and has handled all our natural disasters, including COVID, better than our governor did. She has been much more intellectual than our governor has. She has been much more scientific than the entire Republican Party has. And what they are trying to do now is they are trying to create 10,000 people, bring 10,000 people to go all through this large county and work at polls, watching. They have the state that it's trying to create laws that allow these people to harass voters because they can't win as people get smarter. As people get smarter, they unenslave themselves, and they can't take it. So now they are trying to go in, and all the neighborhoods that you saw him circling, they're all Latino or black neighborhoods. So in other words, if you're black or Latino, and your precinct coming out to vote, more than likely there's voter fraud. But in the other neighborhoods where we have found voter fraud, by the way, remember, in Texas, very few voter fraud has been found, and around the country. And every time you found voter fraud, it's generally Republican voter fraud. If you doubt it, ask the Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor who had a bet with our Lieutenant Governor, Dan Patrick. Dan Patrick offered $25 million for anyone who would come, meaning in $1 million increments, for everyone who would find occurrences of voter fraud. You know what he got? A big zero, a big goose egg. But in Pennsylvania, the lieutenant governor found 3 instances, it's very small, 3 instances of voter fraud. And guess what? It was Trump voters attempting to vote several times. So, when we talk about Republican projection, it's not even a caricature, it's real. And now they're talking about sending 10,000 people in to stop voter fraud in these black and Latino neighborhoods. These black and Latino neighborhoods, they don't want to have anything to do with the cops. They don't want to have anything to do with the legal system because they know what happens when they get into the legal system. Does George Floyd ring a bell? Does Dante Wright ring a bell? We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.